really can't. At least I can't.
Don't do that.
Why can't I get rid of this? What? Trying to see why I can't see. Do you know how to get rid of this bar?
No. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just saying.
If you turn your phone sideways.
Hi, this is Greg Hildebrandt. I've been a professional artist for 62 years. I've done a lot of artwork in that time, and I'm still just trying to get it right.
Hey, there we are.
Here we are. We finally got it right.
All right.
I think.
So, looks like we got at least one person in, one person plus Jean watching on her phone.
I'm not watching on my phone. I'm trying to get in there with you guys.
So we're trying to go in a very roundabout way to see the comments again because we're all far from the computer and live streaming is not what we do on a professional level.
Right.
So you gotta bear with some of the stuff. All right.
Makes it homey. Makes it homey.
Computer and
Not gonna work.
apparently it's not going to work. Our roundabout way is a little bit too roundabout and goes off.
Whatever. Sorry, guys. Whoever's there or
So,
not.
all right. So anyway, to kind of recap, last week the three of us began our discussion talking about freedom of expression and the importance of maintaining the ability to freely express yourself. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll add to that without retribution from the government, right? Although
Right.
we've all known that you can't take financial hits, you can take personal attacks or whatever. But the most important thing is being able to keep that freedom of expression without retribution from the government.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of went a little all over the place talking about people's freedom of speech, and if we are very protective of certain rights that we have, like we mentioned gun ownership, and if I'm being protective of my gun ownership and I don't want anyone to come after that, then I feel like I should be responsible for protecting everyone else's rights to their freedom of speech or their rights to assemble peaceably.
Mm-hmm. Freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion. Yes.
The basic four freedoms.
Yep.
Freedom from want, freedom from fear.
Yep. That it's important for us to, even if we disagree with what the other person is saying or how they're choosing to protest, we all need to come together and defend their right to do it in however they see fit. As long, again, as it's peaceably, right? Is that everybody's kind of memory and
more or less? Yeah, we segued. We went off the other tangents, but that was a kind of like
that was the crux of the biscuit,
right? The crux of it, and I think
Keith, is there anyone there? I'm just curious.
Yes, yeah, three people watching.
Okay.
The risk too that you take as an artist to jump into it and make your statements and have the courage to do that and have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to do it. Now you have the guts to do it. It's a whole other separate issue kind of little thing, for fear of not just necessarily retribution from the government, but, retribution from people who disagree with you as individuals or groups of people. You have to break through that barrier of fear. You made reference to the attack in France.
Yeah.
Right, when that artist did that drawing,
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I butcher the pronunciation of it every single time.
Yeah, well,
because I want to say Jesuit Charlie. Forgive me.
I'm not French, so I don't know.
That
What's
pronunciation.
Jesuit Charlie?
a cartoonist there drew a cartoon of Muhammad.
Yeah, that wasn't his name.
That's the name. That's the name of like the paper.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And
I
then-
keep forgetting his name.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that. That exists, I think, on a global scale, not just with that particular belief system of those who did the attack, but other belief systems too. There's a fear that you could be retaliated against. You know.
Yep.
So I think that inhibits that can inhibit freedom of expression in the arts
Mhm.
and elsewhere. You know.
Yeah, so when you kind of balance out what do I want to say and what do I have to lose if I say it,
Right.
you know, and finding that balance.
Then we went off into the what is it you're after in making that statement do you want to make? Do you want to try to hopefully arrive at understanding and a connection with others? Or do you want to just throw it out there irregardless and maybe cause anger, chaos, confusion,
Yeah.
What are you after?
And
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And the other thing I do want to bring up, because I don't know if it was happening during our live stream, but it definitely happened on last Thursday. The man pulled up in front of the Library of Congress,
Right.
live streamed himself about blowing up.
A couple of blocks or
Couple of
something.
blocks.
Claimed he had a bomb that he was going to.
blow up 2-3 blocks.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Did he say why? Do you remember? Did you see? I didn't follow through on it.
again, he was blaming Biden for whatever.
For what?
And he was talking about the patriots that are going to come support him. So my assumption is that he's probably a follower of the QAnon conspiracies, and he truly believes that the government was overthrown by the Democratic Party. And when I watched it, I saw a lot of reactions about this guy, and this racist piece of trash. He's a bigot. He's whatever, every name under the sun
People were saying it about him.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that when I watched that video. I saw someone who probably has a pretty low IQ, who has been so unknowingly manipulated by what he consumes, either on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'm going to say the majority of it is via the internet, cable news or whatever. But when I looked at him, man, he seemed like he was actually in real pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that he truly believed his country was being stolen. And I'm not
Okay,
justifying.
well,
Yeah, no, I know you're not.
justifying.
That's fine.
You're
That's
saying
fine,
you're reading
Keith.
this is what you saw in the man that when you looked at it. Yeah.
I mean, that's fine if he truly thought that his country was being stolen. I can get that there's plenty of people out there that think that the country was stolen. I get it. Okay. Why all of a sudden in the history of this country, we've had all these elections, and every time we have an election, our election process gets better and more refined, and it's easier to get a ballot. It's easier to register because they've got all this computerized knowledge today that we didn't have 50 years ago. That you had to go in there with your little piece of paper. But now is when half the country decided that they really voted for Trump, but they showed that they voted for Biden. It's such crap. And I get it, all right? I get that a lot of people actually do believe in this information that it was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that doesn't justify going at all for 1 second in your big pickup truck and sitting in front of a building and threatening to kill people. The guy's just a whack job, really.
Well, the fact that
It's a whack job.
the threat that I'm going to blow up several blocks. I've got
I
bomb
mean,
here that I can blow
he's
up.
fortunate.
I mean, whether he did
didn't
it-
die that day.
Yeah,
he didn't die that day. I mean,
The threat itself is so intimidating and anxiety and fear provoking. What do you want to? It was terrorism in its own way, even though he didn't perform an act. there you
It
go
wasn't-
again. Expression.
It wasn't just terrorism in its own way, Greg. They literally evacuated 3 city blocks
Right.
of buildings. And,
Right.
and it,
Right.
crazy the amount
I mean,
of people that got out and ran for their lives.
Yeah.
You know, and not knowing. Think about it. Think
It's
about
like-
the person you're sitting in your office, and all of a sudden, you know, there's some alarm goes off in the building that says "Get out." Okay, and you don't know why. You don't know what that means, and you got maybe, I don't know, 300-400 yards you got to go before you can get out
Sure.
the front door of the building you're in. And in that 300 or 400 yards, you don't know if you're going to die.
Well,
It's
maybe some people do die
overwhelming.
too from a heart attack or whatever.
Absolutely.
I mean,
It's overwhelming.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
we talked earlier. You said about the freedom to express himself. Now, he was having the freedom to express himself. I mean, is that what that's about? Is that him going there, parking a truck, threatening to blow up a couple of city blocks in Washington D.C. That's freedom of expression.
Well,
No,
no.
no, because you don't have the right to threaten or terrorize.
What is it? You can't. You don't legally have the right to say fire
In a crowded
in a
theater,
crowded
there is no
theater,
fire.
There's no fire.
Yeah,
It's
there's
against the law.
yeah. I mean,
to
people
create
think
chaos.
freedom of speech says that you could say whatever you want, whenever you want. There are a whole lot of things that are actually governed
Mhm.
that are illegal to say. There's a whole
Like
bunch.
what?
Huh?
Like what?
Well, you gave the easiest example, yelling fire,
Uh-huh.
and you know you can't make a threat against the president's life.
Right.
Right.
You can't commit hate speech and be protected for that.
Now, when you
Right.
say hate speech, can you say? And I'm curious. I find this very interesting. I'd love to learn new things. Can you say I hate Biden? That's not hate speech. That's just your opinion.
No, he's also a public opinion, but you can't. I couldn't threaten him.
Right.
with
Can't threaten.
violent-
Right.
with-
Can't threaten
with
his life.
violence.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't threaten anyone with violence. Those are not protected forms of speech.
Mhm.
Really, the protected form of speech is bringing a grievance in front of the government without the fear of.
Mm-hmm.
Reprisal.
It seems that that's breaking down. You know, I mean, if you have a political party, not the entire party, to the right, say that it was perfectly fine for what happened on, in the Capitol,
January 6th.
that this was in some way acceptable, that this guy was then sitting there partnering to threaten up a full city box, to that kind of like thinking, that's acceptable.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, there were people who physically assaulted police and other people,
Yeah.
and broke and smashed into a building.
That's not acceptable.
Well, there are those who claim
No,
that
he said if people say that was acceptable, then following the logic, they are also saying that
Yeah.
this guy on
but
the corner
the problem
threatening to
is-
blow up, then you follow that and spread that out across the country.
You know.
Then people doing actions like that and saying things like that to that group of people, official elected leaders, that's all acceptable. Seemingly,
Mhm.
right? That's what it seems like to me that they're saying.
Greg, all they're doing is creating chaos.
Well,
That's all
that's
that's happening in this country. Everybody is going in their own direction, and they're creating chaos on top of chaos on top of chaos, because there's a point at which, if the law and order just breaks down far enough to where it begins to collapse, all these people who are standing for their rights, for guns, for this, for that, free speech, blah, 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 there's going to be nobody there to protect them.
it's kind of like
It's just that simple. There's not going to be
Right.
anybody there. Already, we've lost so many police officers in this country for one reason or another. The amount of cops that have left the Capitol Police Force is overwhelming. They don't even have enough at this point to really protect the Capitol correctly. Okay, and I don't blame them at all. I
Right.
really don't blame them at all. I think they were treated in a horrible fashion after that, that attack on the Capitol, where these guys put their lives on the line to protect the people inside. whether they were independent, whether they were centrist, whether they were Republican, whether they were Democrat, Libertarian, they didn't care. They didn't care what your politics were. They were standing between those people and a mob. Okay? And they were putting their lives
Who were threatening to
on the line.
lynch the vice president.
That's right. And did we honor them? No, we didn't honor them. It's terrifying to me.
Going back to artistic expressions, I like to throw out there again, and maybe I said this one once before, maybe one too many times, going back to King Crimson, and in that line in Epitaph, freedom is a deadly friend if no one sets the rules and lives by the rules. I mean, you can have all the freedom in the world, but man, that can be deadly as shit.
Nobody wants absolute freedom.
No. You need structure, you need law, and you need order.
Yep.
And it was the most lawless and disordered thing that I've seen for a long, long time.
Yeah. And which, we talked a little bit about that with the mob mentality. But one thing through all this we have found is that we as humans are not as good at discerning the truth as we think we are.
Huh. I remember Angela, who used to work for Gene, said a quote once when we were down here. She was working here, and we're all friends. And she said, "We live in an age of information where no one knows shit." I said, "That's fantastic. Print that for me." So I have it stuck up on my wall.
But what I mean by that, like again, this guy in the truck, he's firmly convinced that the United States of America is being overthrown.
Mm-hmm.
And
if
you go back in this country's history, we started off as Brits that overthrew the government.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the United States started. We overthrew the government,
the existing government in that day.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so this guy and people like him feel that they are every bit as patriotic as the founding fathers, but it's all based on delusion and lie.
And I wonder, in that man's mind and others like him that think that way, what is it they're thinking that they're going to replace this democratic government with? What overthrow Biden, overthrow the president administration, what do you replace it with?
No, but that's where you're a little off on their thinking, which is that our democratic government has been overthrown.
Oh, I see.
By a socialist, communist agenda.
Oh, that's an oldie. Better dead than red.
But
well, it is. I mean,
no, seriously, that's.
But it is an oldie. I mean,
but what's the point of that?
It's been around for a long time. You know what I mean? That the communists are going to take over.
That's different than today.
There's a commie in every closet.
Because that whole thinking from the past was an outside threat. It was not here. It was not.
No.
It was not a threat here.
Yes, it was, Gene.
No, it was, Greg.
We're
No, I'm not. I'm asking you. Let me finish this.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go on.
Okay. What I'm saying is, we were worried about Russia. We were worried about China.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we were worried about all these countries that were communists coming and taking over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we're worried about the threat that's right here.
Well, yes, but this is why I want to continue that. That fear was there back then, that there were communist cell blocks all over the country.
I know
and that they were literally there was a commie in every closet under your bed.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Those people, that you're talking about, were people that were influenced from foreign governments, from other foreign governments, not here, so to speak. Okay, the communists we had in this country, their influence came, like, for example, we have ISIS people here in this country. I'm sure we have Al Qaeda here in this country, but they got influence from those people over there.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is, right now, we got homegrown terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
That were born and bred in Virginia or Mississippi or Alabama or New Jersey or Connecticut or Delaware. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
It's ludicrous. They want to take your property. But they think we took over democracy. But they want to take away from you your right to have a free election.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts.
Well, yeah, it's
Sorry, but that is nuts.
Yeah.
That really is nuts. You know?
Yeah. But it's, again, it goes to, for what I said of, we're not able to discern fact from fiction as well as we probably all like to believe.
Yeah, but Keith,
Now, and I'm not
what
discluding. I'm
Look
not
what happens.
discluding
Donald
myself.
Trump was in
Yeah,
God
well.
knows where the other day. Okay, and he had some kind of rally that, you know, first of all, I believe the city that he was doing his little rally and said, no, please don't do this because it's, you know, COVID, you know, the Delta. He completely ignored that because he really doesn't give a shit who dies or who lives. Okay, now he goes there and he's talking about, you should get vaccinated. I got vaccinated. And what did the crowd do?
They booed him.
They booed him. They booed him. He doesn't have control over his own people.
I don't know that they booed him. I read the article, and
I watched it.
yeah, and I don't know if they were booing him as much as they were booing what he
the
said,
concept, the idea.
the idea of it, and then that's when he, again, does what he does. If something doesn't play,
The way he wants it.
he backtracks. And
Yeah, right. And he said,
shifts.
yeah, but you know, it's your freedom.
Yeah, it's your
It's
freedom,
your
and you
freedom.
got to do what you got to
okay.
do.
It's your freedom to die. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
You go right ahead and die.
Yeah.
It's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen. And there are,
Okay,
you
well,
know, there are
again?
countries. Wait a minute. Like one of the things that I read today was the health system. One of the biggest health systems in. Did I say they were national, Greg? I don't really remember the nursing homes I was telling you about this
Methodist.
morning. Methodist, it was United Methodist something or other, blah blah blah. I guess they have a lot of nursing homes around the country, and they made a statement. They sent out a thing to their employees, and they basically said that if you don't have both shots prior to the 15th of October, consider that you have handed in your resignation on that day. They're not even saying we're going to fire you, just consider you handed in your resignation on that day. And they said, if you want to come to work in one of our facilities, you will get vaccinated because our job is to take care of the old people that we're our patients.
Yes.
You know, and if you're in healthcare, you know, people don't want to send their parent or their child who's disabled into a nursing home facility where they're going to die from COVID.
Right, now the thing about this particular hour talk that we always have is like, what's our responsibility as artists in all this business? You know, it's like, what the hell should we be doing something other than what we're doing every day?
I was wondering if you were going to get to that today.
Well, I mean, it's all part of it. You know what I mean? It's all like, what the, you know, what do we do about it all? What can we do? What do we have to do anything? Should we do anything? You know, I mean, that's the ongoing discussion that we have here. You know?
Well, Keith was talking an interesting thing this morning about celebrities. You were talking about, should celebrities have opinions?
No. Let me slightly correct that statement.
Please do.
Celebrities are most certainly entitled to their opinions, just as everybody else.
Okay.
My question is, should we give their opinions as much weight as we do?
Oh, I see. So you're saying we give them too much weight because they're a celebrity?
Yes.
So they're supposed to know better in our minds?
Fame is always that, you know, with that, carries that with it, doesn't it? People think for
Well,
some
if
reason
that's
if you're
the case-
famous, then you,
If that's the case, I'm not interested in your opinion.
right, you know, yeah, you know. It's like fame is supposed to be something that people think that because they're famous, they know more. I know more. You know, we know more.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of fame, so therefore I know more. I about what? You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, you certainly know more about light and color than I do.
well, yeah, we have well,
Plumbing,
some
probably not so much construction. No,
a master mechanic knows a lot more mechanic than I do.
So
yeah,
okay. So along in those lines, okay, yeah, you know light and color. We come to you for your expertise, but we have with social media platforms.
Excuse me.
It used to be, you saw celebrities, and now, musicians and actors and actresses, they're really the height of American celebrity, right? They're
Exactly.
American royalty. So more so than any visual artist
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
alive right now.
Right.
But so they get on social media platforms. Again, let me back up. It used to be you would see them on the screen and you would hear them at press conferences, or if they came out on like David Letterman or whatever, Jimmy Fallon show, you would hear what they had to say right then, when they're doing their press tours, and you'd read about them in the gossip magazine. Now with social media and things like that, we have access to their every thought, whim, whatever. Now most of those are going obviously through a publicist, right? Very guarded things, but they still, put out their opinion. So why, I think in our subconscious we see someone who appears larger than life, on a screen. They have a lot of money. We equate success as some kind of, like you said, there's a higher value for successful people. We look up to them, we admire them. These people might be great at acting, but why are we going to their opinion for their socioeconomic opinions?
Any more than the guy next door.
Here's what I'm saying so about that. I think we have a history of celebrities as activists in this country that is actually a very good thing when it comes to saving the planet, clean water, clean air, gay rights, human rights, all of these things that are not necessarily directly political. They're humanitarian or they're environmental. Okay, when you see a celebrity involved in something like, I don't know, saving all the salmon in Alaska or something because they're against a dam, let's say, I think that's a great thing because they have the voice, they have the range, they can hit a tremendous amount of people that you can't, I can't, Greg can't. Okay, I think that's great. I don't like when they get political because I think then it works in reverse in that they have a right to their opinion, just like I do, just like you do, just like he does. But if their opinion is something that is not necessarily based in just facts, okay, then they have the ability to sway minds in directions that it's improper because they're giving them misinformation. And at that point, they should stop.
Okay, great. I'm glad you brought this up because this is what we talk about influencers, right?
Yep.
And they are the artists today that have the most influence and can sway influence greater than anyone. They can shift cultures, right? Through stuff. Now, I'm going to throw back to 25 years ago or whatever. Sean Penn, who I think is a phenomenal actor.
Right?
Yes.
Went to Iraq.
Yes, he did.
And visited Saddam Hussein, and then came back and told everybody how wonderful they were.
Who's they? Saddam Hussein?
Yes.
His people?
Yeah. The Iranians.
Yeah, and
he did.
His sons were butchers, murder. The things that his family did there are crimes against humanity. But yet they invited Sean Penn over. They showed him all the great, wonderful things, protected him, and he came through and he used his voice to do it. Same thing. Okay. Dennis Rodman went to North Korea, talked about how great Kim Jongun is. Right?
Why?
Again, just
sushi. Why?
Right?
I understand.
It's
what did they see that was real? Nothing. They never see anything that's real. They see what they want you to see. I spent 14 days in Russia in 1981 when it was communist. Okay, most ridiculous business trip on the planet for my then husband's company. All I wanted to do was get out, and I could see the reality, and I knew that the reality I was seeing in communist Russia was not real. It was what they wanted me to see, and yet what they wanted me to see was so frightening, literally, that when I finally landed back in the United States, I got off the plane. I walked down the gangplank. I walked over, those plastic molded chairs they have in airports. I got into O'Hare. I walked off the thing and got down on my hands and knees and kissed a plastic chair. And my husband said, "What are you doing? Get off the floor." And I said, "I'm home.
Yeah,
this is America. I'm free."
I think we were saying that last week too. I mean, when we talked that, you suggested that anybody that bitches up against the government, especially an event like that the assault on the Capitol, those people that claim that they don't have any freedom should go live in a totalitarian government for a month.
Yeah,
just live in that.
I said, Greg, you've heard me
see
say
what the
this
hell.
since then, is that I think every high school student in this country, American high school student, should spend 2 to 3 weeks in a communist country before they graduate their senior year to understand the freedom we actually have in this country, because they don't know the freedom we have. They don't understand. Like when I was in Russia, I couldn't leave a tip. I couldn't tip anyone.
Yeah, I remember that.
I couldn't tip a maid. I couldn't hand them a 50 cents or a $1 bill. I had to go by the government book that was 6 by 9 inch book that was 800 pages or something, that said you can give them chewing gum, put it in the garbage can, and then leave the room. You could leave rubles, but you had to put it in the garbage can.
Why in the garbage can? What
because
was the point
then the point
they
was
could say they just found it.
No, they didn't find it. You threw it away.
Oh, you threw it away.
You threw it away, and they could empty the. They were allowed to empty the garbage cans. But I mean, one night in the hotel, they had staged dinner hours. Okay, and one night in the hotel, 200 and some odd people on the trip, and we're all sitting there eating, and then dinner's over, and everybody leaves. And I realized I left my purse at the dinner table. Okay, so I said to my husband, "I'm going back down." And I went and I walked into these big, doors that swung open. And here were these people who worked in this hotel. And they were not cleaning the tables like busboys, throw everything in those big things. They were picking up dishes. And they were scraping the food into containers to take home.
Right.
Food that I ate and left on my plate, that you ate and left on your plate. That's what they took home to eat. Mm-hmm. We don't know what that is in this country.
Well,
we have no idea what that is.
Most of us don't. There are poorer people who do.
I understand, Greg. I'm talking about the most average Americans do not have.
If someone's working as a waiter,
right,
they're not in that position.
Right.
They're not in that position.
But I mean, there's so much waste in this country. I mean, it's
waste, yes, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fear. Mm-hmm. Okay, when I was in Russia, those people absolutely thought that we were millionaires. All Americans were millionaires. Just the fact that you could actually fly to Russia.
Sure.
That you could get there on a plane. Okay? It was overwhelming to them. And
well, how long did it take them to get a car? I mean, what did a car cost? And most people
when I was there, the waiting list just for a driver's license was something like 18 years. Mm-hmm. It was ridiculous. It literally was ridiculous.
So there you go. People who really bitch. Not that you shouldn't complain and stand up and talk when laws are unjust laws and protest unjust laws.
Should.
Absolutely no two ways about it. But at the same time, it's a two-edged sword, or it's a parallel realization that we do have a democracy, and that we should realize that and like you say, walk around in the other guy's shoes, like Atticus said. Walk around in the shoes of the people in that country, or Iran, or Afghanistan, or where the hell ever. Before you really start to go and assault a building that you're saying that this government was stolen from you. No.
The opposite side of that exists as well as, the capitalists, they're controlling us. They're they're killing the middle class and all. Which there is some truth to
all of it. Yeah, there is.
But
totally.
Yeah.
It isn't all one-sided. It's just not. What do they call that two-sided thing these days? What's the big word? Binary.
Yeah.
Right. It's like no. There's many nuances and subtleties.
So to kind of bring this around, I threw the question out there. I want to throw it out to you. Okay. So as people who then express ourselves through various means, you kind of get used to expressing your own opinion, right?
It's the only one you got, pretty
at-
much.
At what point do we recognize that we have a responsibility that comes with our freedoms, that sometimes it's not about expressing our thoughts and our opinions, but shutting up and listening?
Well, listening to who?
To the opposite opinion,
Wait,
to the other opinion.
wait. Listening to who?
Well, again,
I mean, seriously,
now I'm not
obviously
saying
the
I'm not
opposite.
saying listening to QAnon.
But
Right?
this is my question. So, listening to who? You grew up in the South. The KKK was really heavy in the South. Okay, now, should we sit and listen to the KKK? Should we try and stop the KKK? Should we try and understand them first? Okay, what is it you're trying to say there? I have no
Okay.
problem. I'm a big listener. I'm a
Yep.
huge listener, and I
Okay.
have been my whole life.
I think listening and understanding comes first, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like information, ignorance comes first, right? Ignorance is, if you follow that track, the first there's ignorance, then there's fear, the fear of what you're ignorant of, then there's the hate of the fear of what you're ignorant. So the ignorance, fear, hate, then whatever follows hate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I will say, obviously, you're not listening to the Klan or anybody like that to be like, oh, you know what? David Duke had a great opinion. That's not what I'm saying. But, for example, the hot button issue right now is getting vaccinated or unvaccinated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, why would you not get vaccinated, right? I've gotten vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not? I know one girl who refuses to go from the polio vaccine.
Mm.
So, okay, well, that
could happen.
That makes sense. Okay, I get that. Or we have, but she's not the mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot of people in the South, or people that are Trump supporters, right?
Right.
Why are they so susceptible to believing what we consider to be misinformation about vaccines?
Okay, so wait. First of all, I mean, first you're talking about listening, now you're talking about vaccines.
Well, no, you said, what are we listening to? So I'm giving you an example of what we're listening to. So I need to finish that thought.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
All right, well, go ahead, finish your thought. Go ahead.
Okay. Most of, West Virginia, areas of Montana, all through the South, have been absolutely decimated
With COVID.
by opioid addiction.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are,
Yeah.
the state of West Virginia has more pills of Oxycontin that are prescribed than every man, woman, and child in the state by ×4.
Yeah, right. I read
Yeah.
that.
Right?
Yeah.
Towns that I knew when I was young that were considered upscale West Virginia towns average multiple OD deaths every single night. The pharmaceutical industry plays a massive part in that.
Mm-hmm.
They got off. They had to pay some measly amount of money to compensate for all of the addictions that are going on out there. So when those people have mistrust in the pharmaceutical industry,
You can see that.
I understand why they are extremely susceptible when politicians who they adore tell them, don't do it.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay,
No, I totally get
that.
that.
But then let me ask you a question. As COVID moves forward, as everybody's life has changed in a year and a half, as the Delta and the Lambda and the next variant and the next variant, because they're all coming. Okay, this isn't the end of the variants. Okay, and unless we get the world vaccinated, it's not going to be the end of this pandemic. And these people, okay, are listening to stupidity, pure stupidity, from a standpoint of Don't get vaccinated because it's your freedom to choose that they're taking away from you. Vaccination has nothing to do with that. Vaccination has to do with saving your life and your husband's life and your mother's life and your father's life and your children's lives and your brothers and your sisters and your friends. That's what a vaccine does. Okay? They turn this political. They turned individuals into ticking time bombs. And the thing that I find more offensive than anything else is, excuse me, every fucking Republican in that goddamn Congress is vaccinated. And how you know that is, what? They're getting Delta and they're fine. And then they're going, oh, well, I did get vaccinated. Yeah, I mean, I know I've been saying don't get the vaccination, but I got vaccinated. My family's vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. My mother, my father, my grandchildren, my whole goddamn block is vaccinated. Okay, but you shouldn't get vaccinated. Don't you let them take your right away to die. Are you kidding me?
But isn't and people die because of the lie that's been told from these politicians, by these politicians, and people have suffered and died because of it. Isn't that manslaughter?
There are.
I don't know the law. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like a thought that I have. I'm sure that other people have it.
We now have.
I'd like to know how many people do have that thought. Aren't you guilty of literally taking someone else's life if you knowingly go about rejecting what science tells you is a fact, and that you potentially could be a carrier and you could potentially kill somebody? Isn't that murder?
Be against the law. It should be against the law.
What's the difference between that and picking up a gun and shooting somebody?
Keith, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a judge that ruled that the law firms that represented Donald Trump, did you see that article in the misinformation trials about the election being stolen? Okay, the judge just ruled that the lawyers have to pay the legal fees of the companies that they were trying to ruin.
Yep.
Okay, now that's one giant step for man. That's almost as big as landing on the moon, in my opinion.
So wait a minute.
Okay, because there's so many fake lawsuits that are started in this country for no reason other than people think, okay, I'm going to sue this guy and they'll just settle with me. I'll get some quick money. My lawyer will make something. I'll make something. I'll go on to the next lawsuit. There are people that make a living on lawsuits in this country. Okay.
Okay. Coming back to what Keith had said about the question that he had posed about that we have, what's our responsibility as far as freedom of expressing ourselves?
Yeah.
And also listening to what others. The thing is, who do you listen to? How do you make the choice to who you want to listen to? Like you said, David Duke, you wouldn't listen. Wouldn't it be? I'm not going to say I'm not making my life's effort, but what really does create him? What created him to be that kind of a human being? You know what I mean? Right? I mean,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the listening that you could have for the guy, if you could sit him down
to try and understand why.
To try to understand what created that, to try to get into that for the reason of trying to understand it. Say, aha, I got it. Here's the bottom of why this happened. Maybe start to move forward with an understanding yourself of what goes on with people with different opinions so extreme.
Let's look at that. If you look at white supremacy, you look at that they hate blacks, they hate Jews, whoever they hate. I don't know, they hate Italians, I'm Italian.
The whole thing.
But they hate everybody who's not white.
Yeah, not white and like them.
Not white like
not them and their belief system and religion or lack of religion or what the hell ever.
Now you're dealing with something that is very narrow. Bigotry is very, very narrow. It's between you, the bigot, and me, the black person. Okay? And if I happen to be in your way, in your face, a wrong time, wrong place, I may die. Okay? But misinformation and lies about vaccines in a pandemic hits millions of people around the world. This is not a one-on-one. This is not, 20 people on that side of the street, 20 people on this side of the street, screaming.
Squeak. I like squeak.
Okay, I don't like you, you're black. I don't like you, you're Italian. I don't like you, you're Irish. I don't like you, you're Jewish. I don't like you, you're Polish. Okay, it's not that.
Asian, whatever.
This is literally, I was reading this morning, we have 1,200 people a day dying again. Now, that's, what, 400,000? in a year. And it's going to keep climbing. It's
Yeah,
500, that's another
You say
600,000
the
dead
thing that gets
people?
me, everybody, the politicians and media, they all list these numbers. You know, it gets like they just become numbers after a
It's
while.
too big. You can't wrap
You know,
your
and it's
mind
like-
around it.
You know, I
It's-
wanted him to do that. Talking about art and irresponsibility. During the pandemic, as it was climbing, I said to him, do me a favor, and I actually figured out the average height of a human body that's laying down, right? How many inches is it? And I said, when we hit 200,000 dead people, I said to him, would you do a scale for me of the Empire State Building and a mountain of dead people so we could see what did that look like? Okay, and he was trying to figure out how to do it, and it wasn't working. But because it didn't look right. It was right, but it didn't look right. Because when you get to 200,000 people, it's enormous. And then you get to 500,000 people, and your brain can't even comprehend 500,000 dead people. But the thing I think of, those 500,000 people and 600,000 people, they had spouses, they had mothers, they had brothers, they had fathers, they had sisters, they had coworkers and friends and children that cared about them. So for every person that died, there's probably 10, 15, 20 people whose lives were touched from that death. And they were saying that one of the hospitals in Texas, one of the heads of one of the hospitals in Texas, said, as far as they were concerned, 95% of the people that died in Texas did not have to die if they were vaccinated. And this is getting insane. That all young people are dying now with this, Delta thing, and they still don't stop. They don't stop. Politicians.
And well, it's politicians and the media. Now, again, we could sit here and talk about that all day long, but how do you then communicate an idea to someone? We're very good at building teams, right? And this side versus this side, and these are the good guys and these are the bad guys, and no matter what side you're sitting on, the other guys are the bad guys, and we're the good guys, regardless if you're Democrat or Republican.
Right.
You believe you're the good guy, you believe the other guy is the bad guy, and I've met a few, but very few people who are willing to say, okay, well, yeah, this makes sense, but this doesn't make sense. And, I'm on this, we go down party lines.
Not me.
Right? And it's like, if I'm on this team, then everything that this team says
is no good.
I'm right there with them.
You're with them, but the other team,
is bad.
No matter what they say.
Across the board.
Yeah, but if you do that, okay, when you do that, not if you do that, because I have always considered myself to be an independent, always. Okay, now I'm a registered Democrat, so that I can vote in primaries, but I consider myself to be an independent. I have voted for Republicans, I have voted for Democrats, I vote for the person. But if you do that, if you vote just the party line, you have no independence, you have no freedom.
No.
You have given up your freedom completely. You may not realize you've done that, but you have given up your ability to think, to look at a situation, to adjust that situation in your mind and say, well, wait a minute. This guy's thought process, he may be a Democrat and I'm a registered Republican, but I like his ideas about how to fix this problem better than I like his ideas how to fix the problem.
It used to be more that way.
Yeah, but it seems that...
Not anymore.
That it has gotten very, very polarized.
Very polarized.
And we have media for profit. We have news information.
It's a show.
It's for profit.
Everybody depends on ratings, and we have to.
It's entertainment.
We have to get an audience.
And the best way to get an audience is to create outrage,
or to really cash in on it, focus on it primarily.
Yeah.
I
haven't seen any news channel from either side, right, that just said, hey, this is what's happening.
No.
You know,
No,
it's always
all
about
opinions.
what they're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, can you please tell me what we're doing right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Or, well, I've said that for years, though.
That's a great line.
Where the hell is
what
the
are we
good
doing
news?
right?
It's like, where the hell is the good news? I mean, you pick up
But you
any
know,
paper, you read anything, you watch any news, or you pick a paper. It's nothing but 90% bad news. You can't tell me that
Right.
with 7 billion people on the planet, there's not some good news somewhere.
Yeah.
Positive
but
shit,
Keith,
you know?
your point that you started out here with, I want to go back to it, okay? Because it's a really powerful point. Listening, okay? For everybody, if you, sorry, Greg is playing with his cat.
Kitties.
Uh,
They're getting hungry. It's their chow time.
Okay. If you actually are willing to listen to a person, it's very easy to have a conversation in which you give someone the space to say what they think.
Mhm.
It really is. It's a very easy thing to do. And then you have an option. You can try and address their concerns logically and with information, or try and roll over them with your opinion. Those are only your two choices, And I have found, and I guess because I'm an agent and I'm a negotiator, I listen to people. I have to listen, because if I don't, I'll never get to the end of a contract. But I know of 5 people in the last 4 months in my life that are now vaccinated that had no intention of getting vaccine, because I spent a lot of time listening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy about that, for their sake. It really isn't going to affect my life one way or the other, because I'm vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll affect theirs now, because if they get Delta, they probably won't die, thank you God. And I would hate to lose those people. But I had to really listen to what their fears were. And then I would go online and I would do the actual research that I could then give them. And say, no, look, you said this was bothering you, but look, here's the statistics on that point. Now what? Now you see that wherever you read that, I don't care if you read it in, the Herald or NBC or CBS or MSNBC or Fox, I don't care where you read it. But now you see that's wrong. Your thought process was wrong because the information that was given to you was wrong. Okay, now what's next? And if you can whittle it down, then you have an opportunity to help someone. And not only are you always going to succeed, you're not.
But you've been great at that ever since I've known you. That's been the kind of person that you are. I think most of us aren't that way. I mean, I'm not. I know I have a tendency to just be a knee jerk and respond to stuff quickly. Oh, that's full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Without really, you know what I mean? I'm the first one to admit that about myself.
That's great.
So I mean, it's not like I'm talking to somebody out there right now. It's me I'm talking to too.
Yeah.
It's like it's this.
So let me then just pose maybe this kind of question. I'm kind of formulating the question as we speak here. As artists, then, as someone who wants to express and formulate an opinion, do you think that it's still good just to jump on what we feel is the side of being right and pointing out a wrong, or trying to take a position,
right, is it?
or trying to take a position that has not been popular in the arts, as far as I know and can think of, and create a position of balance?
So I'm going to throw something out here. Your balance is your direction you should really want to go.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Years ago, many years ago, and I'll make this part short, I did courses in transformational technology about trying to learn about human beings and why we act and react the way we do. They were really fabulous courses. I really, really enjoyed them. And one of the things that they worked with and they stressed was language. language is such an integral part of what we think, what we feel, what we see, what we hear. Okay, so for example, one of the examples that they used in one of the courses I was in was the word problem. Everybody grows up using the word problem. Oh, there's a problem. There's a problem with the car. There's a problem with the air conditioner. There's a problem with the lights. There's a problem with my father. There's
in schooling,
with my mother.
There's a math.
Okay.
You got to solve this math problem.
Okay. Now, they looked at the word problem and how people react to the word. And problem is one of those words you go, oh my God, it's a problem, Jesus. It's a problem. It's another problem in my life. Okay. And when you take that word out of your vocabulary, throw it away, and something happens, you get a flat tire. And the flat tire is no longer a problem. It's a circumstance that needs a solution. That's all it is. And all the angst and the anxiety and everything that was attached to the word. Now, I'm using that just as an example because so many words that we use today create the anxiety, the tension, the hatred, the fear. Change the vocabulary. Let's just all of us start changing the vocabulary. Let's try and figure out, as artists, as creators, as writers, as musicians, how do we get this world back on track? Where people actually like each other again. Where families like each other again. When in my lifetime at 68 did I ever think I'd see the day that families are separating because of politics? Never, ever, ever, ever in my lifetime, never in my imagination would I have believed that. You better make sure your cat doesn't jump on my computer.
He's going up. Yeah, no,
But,
in politics too, right? I mean, it applies.
We really have an obligation, as you pointed out, Keith, it's a very good point. We have an obligation in this country to start listening to each other. I don't care what political side we're on. I really don't. We got to start to understand why the other person thinks the way they think.
That's what I just said.
Okay, because we can't keep going this way. But if we just keep
that's
going
a
this
dead
way,
end street.
we might as well just draw a line down the middle of the street in red. Everybody get a gun and start shooting like they did. The Brits, they used to just line up and the first 22 rows just died, and then the next 22 rows moved up. I mean that's really what we're doing here, and we're not hearing anybody.
So the thought that's kind of playing in my head right now is that maybe we as artists need to take on the role of healer, right?
Nice.
Not to be
like that.
Metaphysical or anything.
No, I mean, but yeah.
But sometimes to heal, you got to get rid of the festering. You got to get rid of the infection. And so, how do we get rid of the infection that's causing the problem?
I don't think there's any one answer to that.
Again, it comes back to that.
There's so many different reasons why there's an infection. You were talking about getting a vaccine, and you said that person that that's terrified because her father had, polio, got polio from the vaccine. Many years ago, Greg and I were sitting in our GP's office getting our flu shot, and Doc gave us both the shots, and then he said, okay, now I got a true story for you, and I want you to give me an honest answer. I said, fine. Well, the two were just sitting there, and he said, so this just happened. A doctor friend of mine at the hospital, his wife came into the hospital. She was probably about 48 years old, and she came into the hospital to get her flu shot. She stopped by his office, and he gave her the shot, and she was fine. She went home, she cooked dinner, everything was fine. The whole family was together that night, and she went to sleep. And when she woke up in the morning, she was paralyzed from the neck down from the flu shot. And our doctor was telling us the story, and he said, if I had told you that before I put the needle in your arm, would you have gotten the shot, Jane? I said, of course I would. And he said, why? I said, because, Doc, at any given time, in any second in a person's life, they could be allergic to something. You could be allergic to a daisy and not know it. You could be allergic to a peanut. You could be allergic to watermelon. You could be allergic to that cat and die. You don't know it. But I'd rather not have the flu because I got bad lungs and I don't want to die from that. So you take a shot. Life is about taking a shot. It's about, and I don't mean a shot in the arm. I mean, we take chances.
Yep.
You take chances when you get pregnant. You take chances when you get married. What do you think you know about marriage when you get married? Not a thing.
No.
Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. You you take chances with a friend. You meet somebody. You like them. I've never, ever, ever seen what's happened in the last 5 years, and excuse me, world, anybody who's listening who's Republican, up until Donald Trump and the primaries, I never met anybody in my life and asked them what political party they belonged to before I decided if I wanted them to be my friend. Never. I liked you or I didn't. It was that simple.
Didn't exist.
Now, if you're a Republican, you like Republicans. If you're a Democrat, you like Democrats. And never the twain shall meet. God forbid, let's not cross the bridge.
It's like Gandalf facing the Balrog. You shall not pass.
There you go.
It's
you
true.
Got it. It's true.
It's true. And
it's true.
Last week we were talking of, I don't know if we specifically talked about Black Lives Matter or whatever, but people saying, it's a racist country, and well, we need to listen to them because every time they bring it up, we just have a bunch of a-hole white people that prove them true, prove them correct, right? Conversely, there are a lot of things that are true with a lot of the Trump Republicans. One, the Republicans because of religious background, and in the 70s, Billy Graham joined up with Richard Nixon as a very coordinated effort to align the Christian church with the Republican Party.
Yep.
To ensure a voter base. Right.
The Protestant Christian Church.
The Protestant Christian Church. Right. Catholics have kind of
they're over there,
and
but they came into this too. Yep.
But so a lot of beliefs are grounded in religion, or perceived.
I'm only laughing because I love how much the two of you know about religion. How little I know about it, guys.
I don't know that much.
I just pull back when it's about religion, man.
But
I like the idea. Well, go on.
You have a lot of people, again, middle America, living paycheck to paycheck, who felt completely marginalized by the government. You felt that the government was catering to Hollywood liberals and things like that. And then they come in and they shut down a lot of major industries in those areas. And you felt like you didn't have a voice.
You mean like the coal industry?
Exactly, like the coal industry. You no longer had a voice. Now, there's a lot of nuance in there in that the owners of these corporations would rather close down your entire town than pay the EPA fines for not dumping sludge into your water. Let's put that aside because that never really gets addressed or thought about by the people. They just see the government did this, the president did this. The president takes all the blame or all the credit. Why, I don't know. But you're left without a voice. Now you're left without your income, and along comes a very good con man who knows how to manipulate people, who knows how to play on fears, and he says F you to the government establishment. You stand up.
Yes, I'm all behind you.
He is speaking for me, and I will.
The voice of.
I will go down fighting.
I have a question.
It's the eternal story of the con man, of the snake oil salesman, of the charlatan, the bullshitter.
If people really want freedom, freedom to think. Okay. Why do you need to follow someone? Why do you need to follow anyone, Keith? I don't follow people. I think. I react, and I think, and I act, and I live based on what I learn, what I teach myself, what I find interesting, what I don't find interesting, but I still learn about it. I mean, I love information. I love looking it up. I love researching things and going, wow, I didn't know that. Okay, and then I learn this, so it's just my opinion to hear. Or I learn that, it's just my opinion to hear. Why do people need any leader? I mean, I get why the countries need a leader to guide us through international waters, to make sure that the infrastructure, to make sure that the infrastructure of the country works, that the roads and the tunnels and the bridges and the electrical grids and all of that stuff actually work. I get all of that, okay? But individuals, okay? Why do you need to follow Donald Trump? Why do you need to follow Mitch McConnell? Why do you need to follow Marjorie Taylor Greene down her pathway to hell and back? Why? And I mean, I'm not following Joe Biden. I voted for him, but I'm not following Joe Biden.
No.
I don't agree with everything Joe Biden does or says.
No,
nor will I ever.
Donald Trump, again, this is in my recollection, I can't say anything of too many past presidents, but is the first one that has had this type of
power, religious
cult following.
Yeah, but I got to say something here because I'm not religious, so I get to say this. I mean, I was born Italian Catholic and I walked away from the church at 8 years old. Okay, so I get to say this. Donald Trump knows absolutely nothing about Christianity.
No, of course not.
Nothing at all. It is such bullshit that he spews to make people think he's actually has a sense of religion. Even it's so offensive to me. I know more about religion than Donald Trump does, and I've spent absolutely zero time in my life worrying about it.
There's 2 points. Sorry, Greg. If you want to go ahead and speak.
No, it's all right.
Well, there's two aspects. When I used a religious, I meant more like it's a cult following. One, Franklin Graham, who's Billy Graham's son. Billy Graham's the guy who joined up with Nixon. Franklin hangs out and parties with Trump. He goes to Mar-a-Lago, hangs out on his yachts, and he then came out with a phrase after, again, all these issues with Trump, and he said, well, I didn't say he was the best example of the faith, but that he defends the faith.
Defender of the faith.
That he will stick up for people's rights to be Christian and the beliefs that they have that go counter to popular opinion.
Fine, but Donald Trump is a hypocrite.
What does that mean?
He's an absolute religious hypocrite. I mean, he's got the evangelicals, that absolutely love him. And the last time I looked, with Christianity, you're not supposed to fuck around on your wife. He's fucked around on every single woman that he's been married to, probably every single woman he's ever dated. Okay, his whole life is about conquest. That's all his life is about. Now, just that in itself, all right, makes him not a religious human being.
Right? Does he defend the rights of the Muslim? Does he defend the right of the Hebrew? Does he defend the right of the Hindu?
No.
Does he defend the right of name all the other religions, name all the other subtleties, all the races?
You're absolutely right. No.
But does he defend any of this? So I'll give a shit that he defends the Christian. This is not a Christian country.
No.
This country was occupied by millions of people before the invasion started. Right. And they dumped it. They invaded, they murdered, tortured, enslaved, insisted they become Christians, justified by Rome, justified by the Protestant religions, and they did it, and that's a bullshit motherfucking lie that's been here for 400 years. Nobody talks about this.
X-rated YouTube version.
Nobody talks about this.
Well, sorry, folks.
It's all this cover-up job, the right and the left, Nobody talks about what's really underneath. And unless we do, this shit's going to keep happening forever. You have to get down to the center of it to really understand. Quit lying to ourselves about our great, noble history. It's filled with murder. It's filled with slavery. It's filled with lynching. It's filled with wars. Read what the fucking Spaniards did to the Native American babies. They threw them for entertainment to man-eating dogs. Read the book that I told you about, American Holocaust. I challenge everybody to read it. Then come back and we'll talk. Other than that, all this shit's on the surface. Here's the real stuff all down here. There's my Sermon on the Mount.
But don't listen to his Sermon on the Mount. Buy the book. We don't even sell it.
But I mean that, really, in all seriousness. I really feel that. I'm not just spouting.
Oh, we can tell you feel it.
It's like something that is suppressed.
Honey, I'm just trying to get you.
No, I know, but you don't walk around because I don't know what the hell the answer is.
Well,
It's like
I don't think there's an answer, Greg. I think
there's got to be. There has to be.
I think that there's a point. It's like everything else, It's like black people in this country get to a point where they're just tired of being shot. I get it, okay, and so they should. There's no question about it. And then they erupt. It's like, okay, we're tired of being shot. I think there's always a point where people get tired of specifics, and I think we're getting to a point in this country. I hope we are, where people are tired of not being human anymore. Because that's really where we're getting to. We're not human anymore. We have forgotten how to love thy neighbor. We have forgotten how to help people. The only time we remember in this country, for some reason, all of those things that the Bible tells you, okay, is love thy neighbor and don't covet thy neighbor's wife and all that good stuff. Okay, is when we have a natural disaster, when there's a flood. Massive flood like they just had in Tennessee. It doesn't matter those people, what religion you are, what race you are, what color they all come together to try and find the people that are missing, and or the thing in Florida when that building collapsed. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish or you're an Arab or you're from Honduras or you're from Mexico. Everybody came together to pick up a piece of rubble to try and find someone.
Right, somebody
and we forgot how to do that. We forgot how to come together as human beings in this country. And that's what we need. We need to hit that breaking point where we go, wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Let's just get back to being human.
Right.
Let's take a look out the window.
There's UPS's at the door.
We already put it up.
I know, but they want a signature for something. So you go.
I go.
He's gone.
I go.
Because you get there faster than I do. It's that simple.
I could go.
No, it's fine. You can go.
So to step back and answer your thing about leader, like why do people need leader? I'm going to say most of those people would not consider themselves someone who needs a leader. Most of them probably want the government out of their lives for the most part. They want to live their lives. They want to do their thing.
That's such a tagline that's not even funny. Get big government out of my life. Yep. That is a political tagline. It's a crock of shit. There is more government in the Republicans than there is anyplace else on this planet. way more government. We go to Scottsdale, Arizona every year, just about. Okay, and since 2009, and Scottsdale is almost all Republican. Okay, and a lot of good friends out there because I refuse to talk politics with them. But they have these things on every single street. There's these decibel meters, and you'll get a ticket in the mail if your motorcycle's too loud in Scottsdale. Okay, so and you can only paint your house 4 different shades of beige, and you can only use certain roof tiles, and you can't plant this kind of plant, and you can't have Christmas lights up after January 3rd because the holiday's over. Let's go. Come on. Yeah. Okay, so that's all government.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, you said why do they need to follow Donald Trump? And I'm saying they normally wouldn't. They would normally want to be left alone. However, if you feel that the government has somehow interfered in your life and has taken away your livelihood, and then a savior comes along to stick it to the man, you will champion them.
Well, here's what I know. To all of our Republican friends out there, I will tell you this one thing that I can guarantee you. Any man that sits on a gold toilet doesn't give a shit about you.
You know, they hear.
Not you.
Okay,
not
I mean,
me,
aside from all this,
not them or anybody I know.
the craziness of politics and everything that we're going through now. Because I'm 82, so I can remember vividly the height of the anti-war movement, which was all basically left. Students. Right. It finally became a whole mix of people: vets against the war, veterans of the Second World War, veterans of Korea against the war in Vietnam. There were tons of people, mothers against the war, but it was basically looked at as a left-wing thing. And then there was the big march on the Pentagon when Richard Nixon was in office, and literally there was an assault on the Pentagon by lots of the young people, students, an attempted assault, very much looking like the assault, the other on the Capitol. Only there was they weren't beating people up. They had grappling hooks and were throwing up the Pentagon walls to try to scale the walls, and the guards were gassing them, tear gassing all these young people trying to climb and get. If they would have gotten up to the Pentagon, I don't know what they would have done. Broke windows, I guess. You would have had the same looking thing, but here that was left wing, and all those left wing thinking people were thinking that they were doing the right thing because this government was vile, evil, and corrupt, and more than likely the true government was stolen from them. And not that I remember that phrase, but it was the same. It's exactly the same concept, only now it's the right wing. It's really fucked up. I mean, it's really weird when you these two scenes are in my head.
I don't think in the 60s they thought that the government was stolen.
Not stolen. No, I didn't mean. But I'm saying they were totally against it.
That's wrong. They were against the government.
They were against the government. They wanted to get rid of this particular government.
But that's not what happened with Donald Trump at all.
I'm saying.
Please don't cross that over.
No, I'm saying the physical assault on a building in Washington D.C. is visually similar. Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand that, but I'm saying that the mindset is completely.
Now let me finish though.
different.
There was no flag. Nobody with flags beating up cops. There was none of that going on. None of that kind of business.
Right.
But nonetheless, it was taken as a attempted takeover of the Pentagon building. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just crazy to me to see how both sides can justify this at any time in history about our government, our country. You know?
I want to stop us for a second. Keith, can you read that stuff over there? You go over there and see if anybody is asking a question or saying something that you or Greg, and get rid of that Adobe Windows. Thank you very much. Let's see if any of the people that are there are,
We have comments, but there is a.
Why is it doing that?
I don't know why it is doing.
Okay, because it's like 1,000 words in.
I would love to be able to read these comments, but they're broken down into 3-letter increments in a very long, narrow.
I have no idea what's going on there. I've been watching it, thinking, "What the hell is going on?" Okay.
Yeah. Let me reset. As everybody has to look at me getting up into the.
All right, you look fine.
For some reason, nope, not. The formatting of our comments, again, today is off, and I can't even read these if I wanted to, and I do want to.
Isn't that sad?
Adrian Wagner. Hey, Adrian, I could read your name.
Hey, Adrian.
Good to see you again.
How are
Dan13 showing up. How you doing? These are the people that I recognize.
Sure.
Chris Cohn, sorry. Some about evangelicals are hypocrites. I can't disagree. Sorry, I can only make out a few words here and there. My apologies, everyone.
I know you have all figured out by now that the tech abilities in spiderweb art are limited.
Well, you guys have more of it. You guys
Well, we
have.
have graphic abilities.
Yeah, I said tech. I didn't say graphic. You rock graphically, But what can I say? We just can't seem to get this.
It's homemade.
Damn
it's handmade.
YouTube thing to work the way.
It's grassroots. It's a real grassroots movement. We're trying to get the dried up, brown, nearly dead grass that is our country to shine like Kentucky bluegrass again.
Oh
Remember
my
the-
God, what a beautiful image.
I love
No, seriously, what a beautiful
Yes,
image.
that's
I mean,
right.
would that not be phenomenal? Would it not be something to really strive for in this country, that the whole country looks like Kentucky bluegrass?
That would
Oh
be
my God.
wonderful. And
Oh my God.
I'll say this will be my closing statement, and then you guys can say what you want. And to touch back on you talking about people, coming together, like the building fall, we come back together. I think the largest scale we've seen of that togetherness was post 9/11.
Yeah.
Like New York was not New York.
Right.
People were very friendly.
Oh my God.
Which is not. People said hello to strangers on the street in New York. Where in West Virginia that's common. New York,
No, not common.
you don't make eye contact.
Right.
Right.
No, it became a completely different place for quite a while.
So it would be lovely if we could get back to that without something catastrophic.
Mm-hmm. That's the horror of it. It generally
So
takes that.
we have to find some form of inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
but in the positive.
Right. Yes. And
Well, the interesting thing with that, though, Keith, is that there's a sadness to it in that all Americans, even if you're QAnon, if you're the KKK, if I don't care who you are, okay, the Proud Boys, the Poor Boys, I mean, I don't know. Okay? All Americans actually know how to do this. At some point in our lives, we have pulled together to help other people. And I don't care if it's a bunch of guys out there in a hunting accident and there's 20 guys and one guy gets shot by mistake, and the other 19 guys, they're right there to save his life. Maybe they didn't even know each other, but they're all going to be right there to save his life. Okay, and we know how to do this. A lot of countries don't know how to do this. When you look at the fear and the terror in countries like Afghanistan and Iraq and Russia, and where you don't know if your neighbor's going to turn on you,
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they live their entire lives. We never had that in this country. We don't have neighbors turning on neighbors unless somebody's going to kill somebody. But so we do know how to do this in this country. And we have just stepped back away from helping people, and we've become isolationists because of Donald Trump, because his America First turned into a me first for a tremendous part of this country, and that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong because America's never been that. We've never been me first only.
Yeah.
When we first moved up here to this lake 30 years ago, we kept meeting people, and I thought it was absolutely amazing that 30 years ago, we'd go to somebody's house, we'd just drop in, say hi, the door was open. You didn't even ring the bell.
Mm-hmm.
You walked in. It was craziness in my world because I wouldn't have done that. I still don't do it. I didn't do it then. But there were whole parts of rural America that people were just neighbors. And they were friends. And this, we had the flotilla, okay? And I'm not going to go into that. But a few days before the election last year, a Trump boat pulled up to our dock and sat there every day, anchored outside our dock for like 3-4 hours every day for 4 days. Like what? You're going to intimidate me? You're going to intimidate him? I don't think so. When does that happen? That happens in old westerns.
Well, it's happened
in
times past and much worse. Like my freak out a little while ago. We want to go into that. That's a whole 20 shows, or at least 1, 2, or 3 shows that we could do, and we probably.
I don't mean.
I would like
I'm
to
saying
because
that's
it's my
the long
show.
past.
Yeah, I know that, but I would
Right.
like to talk about that at some
It's either
point.
the long past or it's an old movie where you see something about Boss Tweed.
Mhm.
Okay, that kind of thing. But you don't see it in 2021. You didn't see it in 20 or 19 or 18 or even 17. You didn't see that
in recent history. Right?
in recent history, and all of a sudden, I'm looking out my deck, going, "Wow, some human being who's a neighbor of mine actually thinks they can intimidate me to change my vote." I don't think so. Not in America. Not here.
I don't know. Maybe we're just living in a corporate delusion.
Good God. Okay, we're going. We're going. I promise we are going.
But no, I mean, really, I think, what's the classic opening line from Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities? They were the worst of times, they're the best of times. I think it's always that.
Yeah.
Because why? Why is it the best of times? Because there's always possibility. Anything is possible at any given time, But when you say it's the worst of times now, no, it's not. All you got to do is just reflect on the past 400 years.
Right.
And you'll see, reading history, how
It's
bad
not.
it was.
For sure it's not.
So there is improvement. I mean, it's like we shouldn't all be totally, down on it, because we should certainly got to talk about the injustices that exist every single day, for sure. But I mean, to realize that there are advances being made, there are advances. Look at this, a female governor of New York. I mean, that's never happened before.
Well, Greg, I mean, I think it's great that we now have a female governor in New York, even though you and I don't live in New York, and good for her.
No, what I'm saying, things keep moving. Now that's a whole other issue. But I'm saying things keep moving forward. They really do. In small increments here and there, things keep moving forward.
Change doesn't come without pain.
Right.
Change with our access to information, right? Change can occur at a far more rapid pace than ever before in history. And so therefore
Yeah, but Keith, you just said something that's really interesting. Okay, change comes at a rapid pace, that we have more information at our fingertips than ever in history, which we do. Don't you find it sad that we have all this information and it's not being utilized? I think it's tragic.
Well,
I do. I think it's so. Whether it's for clean water, clean air, better pipes, no lead, I don't care what it is. Save the fish, save the whales, save the elephants. Dear God, save something. Okay, save the bears, save the lions, save the wolves. What are we doing all of a sudden in Alaska now? We got open hunting on Alaskan wolves. Why? We need that little bit of land that they live on. We need that land. We need those trees to cut down. We're crazy. We really are. We're nuts. And yet we have all this information at our fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And we can figure out ways to get to where we want to go without destroying the planet at the same time, without destroying species, without destroying nature, without hurting your neighbor, helping people. We have the information to do that.
But I think we're at a very susceptible time in that we don't have anything cohesive to believe in. Right? There's nothing that we can all rally behind and get behind. Some things to me or to you might seem like a no-brainer, but aren't to other people. Like, and what I mean by that, for example, you were just talking about like saving the planet, like getting behind the planet, like that to me seems like a no-brainer. But then you have, again, and it comes from misinformation. I have a corporate interest in making sure this doesn't happen, because if this happens, my profits are going to go way down. So I could pay for a lot of studies and things like that to tell these people that it's all BS. And coming from a religious upbringing, a Christian background, I'm not that anymore. Coming from that background, it's heartbreaking to me to see Christians not get on the side of saving the planet, but join the side of big oil.
Oh God, it's terrible.
And I'm like, man's first job in the Bible is to be a gardener.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I'm reading the stories in the paper every week now with these fires and everything. The droughts out west where cattle farmers are selling off their cows just so that they won't die, and they're losing their farms, they're losing their ranches, and and farmers and wineries and people's generation after generation after generation of businesses that are collapsing because everything has changed nature-wise, okay? And yet we have people that say there's no such thing as climate change. I mean, I don't even, all you got to do is look out your door and there's climate change, and it's just unbelievable to me that say, well, the science doesn't prove that. No, okay, well, it rained on the top glacier in Greenland a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time in the history of Greenland. Okay, guys, what is that if it's not climate change? God pissed on Greenland? I mean, what are we doing?
What about thou shalt not kill? This is what, not more than just Christians.
Getting into abortion?
No, I don't. That's your. I'm not talking about that.
That's my thing.
I'm talking about killing the fucking planet.
Let's do an hour on abortion.
I'm talking about killing.
Would you like an hour on abortion?
I'm talking about killing the planet. I'm talking about killing the planet. Thou shalt not kill. What does that mean? But they've even justified it, organized it. Oh, no. That doesn't mean, that means, Because, who was it that came up in the Catholic Church with the just war theory? I think it was Augustine.
Yeah.
Saint Augustine. Saint. They make saints out of these people. You know what I mean? He came up, the infidel was at the gates of Rome. He had to quick come up with, it's a just, we can go kill him. Up to that point, I believe, from what I understand, my limited knowledge of history, that Christianity was very much a pacifist religion.
Yeah.
You could not take up arms. All those who take up the sword will perish by the sword.
Which is true.
I say, do good to those who persecute you. Turn the other cheek. Be if a man. I'm paraphrasing. You probably know a lot better than I do. But if he steals your cloak, run after him and give him your hat also. Because he has less than you do. Go, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. Christ said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
On, where is that? Do you see? There are those who do. I'm sure practice that, but I'm talking about these ones that you're talking about. Where is that?
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah, of course, that's exactly.
God how to be human.
Yeah.
But and then they claim to be Christians. But if you go just take the Sermon on the Mount, all the so-called Beatitudes. That summation of all the teachings. No, they're fantastic rules, Gene. They're fantastic ideas.
Greg.
These are the guidelines that they claim to be following and believing in, and it's not there. Look at it.
But Greg, they don't. Why did I walk away from the church at 8 years old?
No, I know, Gene.
Because at 8 years old, as a little kid, I could see that the church I went to every Sunday was what I went home and told my parents and my grandparents were what I called convenient Catholics.
Well,
Catholics for 2 hours in that church, and after that, I don't know what they were, but they walked out that door screaming at the guy in the car next to them.
My kind of thought about that is, don't call yourself Christians.
No.
I don't know what the hell you want to call yourself, but do not call yourself Christians.
No.
Because you're not.
No.
Don't.
Don't do it.
It's an embarrassment.
It is. It's a huge embarrassment.
It is.
It's like, anyway. But what did this all have to do with art, anyway? Or maybe we're artists and we were expressing ourselves?
Yeah, but didn't you just
we
say
have the freedom?
But celebrities are not supposed to. So why did you?
No. Celebrities can do.
I'm just busting his ass.
Celebrities can.
Absolutely. But don't take it that their word means more than somebody else's word.
Well,
that's their opinion.
One thing though about Greg, and I have to say this honestly, is he definitely has an opinion, just like I do, just like you do about everything. But Greg is not very political. He's not at all. He really is not political.
Not you mean local politics, the Democrat, Republican? No, I've never been. I've never been a card carrying anything.
Not just. I don't mean local. You're just not very political.
Well, I mean local politics.
Can I finish? Okay. He's more humanitarian than he is. He's more concerned with nature and people and survival.
Politics don't interest me.
If I want to sit down and have a long-term conversation with somebody about international politics, it ain't happening.
Well, look at. Hey, I'm an artist, and we're artists. I mean, what the hell? Who are my heroes? It certainly hell wasn't a politician at any given time.
That's what I would say with you. It's not that you're not interested in the workings of politics.
No, he knows it. He knows it cold.
But you're not interested in ruling.
Ruling? No, not in the least. And I'm not interested in the shenanigans of any political party. I don't care what I was raised, thank God, by parents who were apolitical. So I never grew up with any kind of like in my ear anything about it. So I was very naive and stupid about it. And I'm really thankful for that. Because, I mean, you're left then kind of like just in your own world and not having to be siding with this side or that side. And I've never been a card-carrying member of any party.
I was in college before I knew my family were Republicans. I had no idea. They never talked about politics in my family. Never.
Politics. It's very interesting, and what ideologies do you stand on in order to govern and rule the people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for example, Keith, and I know we're going way later than we normally do. Look at this thing.
We said we're going to cut it off like 20 minutes ago.
I know. Look at this thing. But look at this thing with Afghanistan now. I mean, there were two congressmen, the Democrat, I don't know if you saw this, Democrat and Republican, that went to Afghanistan. Did you see that?
No.
They said that they were not getting the information that they wanted about what was really happening at the airport in Kabul. So yesterday they took a private plane and they went in. And it was they thought they were right in doing it because they wanted to get information firsthand. Also, they were both veterans, so I think they probably felt that they had the ability, to go in. It was a massive disruption yesterday because the army, the military had to protect them in the Kabul airport.
Yeah, that becomes the priority.
That became a priority, and then blah blah blah. And they wanted to go around and see what was happening. So the military, instead of taking care of trying to get people on planes, they're walking these two guys around. And the Biden administration went nuts, because they were so sure that it was being handled wrong. So they went there, the Democrat and the Republican, and what did they come up saying when they came home? Biden's doing exactly what he should be doing. There's no way that we can't pull. We have to pull out. We have to pull out. They looked over the whole situation. And they said, if we don't get out of here on the 31st, which is the deadline, we are risking everybody's life because the Taliban is just going to come in like,
and ISIS.
And ISIS and start killing people left and right because we said we were leaving.
Yeah.
We need to get out. Now, if we can get out in a way that what Biden's trying to negotiate right now is that Americans will still be able to get to the airport and get out on commercial flights, and that people that have, American passports and blah, 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 even if they're Afghans and whatever, if they have certain paperwork, they work for different companies, that they'll let them out. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do a safe passage continuation. Right now, whether they'll do it or not, I don't know. I have no idea.
I know that it's a shit show.
It is.
Yep, it's a shit show.
And that I've heard people on other military-based podcasts years ago talking about this very thing happening.
Sure.
Because insurgents are from there. That's where they live. They can outlast you.
Mm-hmm.
Forever.
Totally.
All right.
But
wait. That's a whole deal. We're going
to say goodnight. Good night.
So, adios.
If you love us, come back next week.
Maybe we'll talk more about art. Maybe we'll do
right here on this couch.
Well,
probably not, though. Probably
maybe
next
we'll draw
week,
some pictures.
He'll be painting again for you because that's really what you want.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, it's loosey-goosey.
So,
right? It's a free-flowing.
We appreciate you coming.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And everybody, please remember, Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. And we have books, and we have tin signs, we have posters, we have Star Wars. We have God knows
money
what
part
we
of
have.
It.
Yeah. It's not about money.
No, we have to.
It's about reminding people that if you shop early on Christmas Eve, you're not in the mall looking for something for someone you love. So shop early. Shop with us. We love you. Good night.
Bye.
That's funny the way that's showing up.